Typical format that we follow is just kind of, a brief set of, welcome and a few announcements that we're aware of in the community. Then we take, really 30 up to 45 minutes for updates and discussions. So we don't, we stick somewhere close in that range. We typically do the discussion as each group or person is presenting. So we kind of combine those two into a slot. And then we, just have a few minutes at the end to reiterate any community ask or provide contact info, follow up on anything that popped in into the chat when we're walking through things. A few announcements just to make you aware of. These are the first four are all linked out of our, or the first three, well, the first two are actually all linked out of our blog. We always do security assessments for every network upgrade, both at the specification level as well as the implementation level. We completed, obviously, that for Canopy some time back, but published the results of that audit on our website. Again, link there, but you can go to the ECC or electriccoin.co/blog and find that. Long story short, not very interesting, which is exactly what you want from a security assessment. They had some recommendations for spec and zip wording to kind of sync up a little bit, but that was about it. Huge announcement last week. Jim and I announced shielded withdrawals. I'm sure everyone on the call is aware of that already, but again, you can get more details from the blog entry. We did our live stream as well recently. That is on our YouTube channel. So if you didn't get a chance to attend that live, you can go see the recording. A lot of good information on ECC mission and vision, which included, of course, like marketing strategy. We had an engineering R&D update. We got into a little bit of a deep dive with Halo 2, but not much, obviously, on a live stream. And then just an FYI, we're having the Arborist call this Thursday. Arborist calls, if you're not familiar with those, are focused more at protocol level development topics and issues. So this week we'll be discussing the network upgrade pipeline, which is kind of the process of producing network upgrades, if you will, in short. And we're looking at, ECC has been leveraging that framework for a while, and we've learned several things in the process. So we've got some thoughts. I believe the foundation has some thoughts on how to improve it, and we're also obviously open to community feedback on that as well. If anyone has any thoughts, so that'll be the main topic in addition to updates from regarding ZebraD and Zcashd and kind of where we're at in the overall schedule on those. And yeah, so that'll be the main topic. And then we'll also have a time for open discussion on Thursday as well, because I don't think that'll take the whole slot. And then for more updates in general, Elena puts in a community weekly update every week. That's the most recent one, but you can follow that link and then look at the previous weeks as well to see some of the activities in the community and regarding privacy in general with that. So today we have 4 speakers. Aditya from Nighthawk Wallet, Kevin Gorham from ECC is going to talk about the Light Client Working Group, which is something that just got established, and Kris Nuttycombe, and I look like I forgot to put that in there perhaps, is going to talk about ZIP 321, which is payment request URIs. I'm just going to fix that as we go. Sorry for that. Is that right, Kris?
He gave a thumbs up, I saw.
Okay, thumbs up. I can't see, but I assume silence was either he was rolling on the floor laughing or it was a thumbs up. So at any rate, Kris is going to talk about that, and then Linda is going to provide an update on some documentation improvements the team's been working on recently.
Yeah.
Okay, well with that, we'll just kind of hand it over to the Nighthawk team. And again, be more than happy to drive the slides for you. And then if at any point, if you'd like to present your screen or demo, feel free. We've got, roughly 10 minutes or so per slot. Have a little bit of flexibility there, but we'll kind of try to stick to that roughly. So.
Sounds good, Steve. Thanks
right,
for
thank you.
driving. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So for the Nighthawk Wallet, since the last gardening call, we have deployed the Light Wallet D server infra, making us Canopy ready. We did have some service hiccups in the last 24 hours, and we are working on patching those up. Apart from that, the wallet had updates from the bug fixes from the ECC upstream wallet. We had improved device compatibility and added some custom theming. And we also routinely import updated code from the ECC reference wallet, working with Kevin and Paco on the Android and iOS side. And this time I got to make a upstream pull request to add the change light wallet server UI to the ECC wallet. Next slide, please. So that's the big win this time. We finally got a thumbs up from Apple to enable the public testing for Nighthawk on iOS. So I invite users to help test this app and provide feedback. Mind that the app is not production ready and it might crash here and there. So we'll follow up with Apple in the App Store to get the app in the App Store by the end of the year, while working on the bug fixes and improvements to the iOS version of the Nighthawk wallet. And note that this, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Congratulations on that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more people now because iOS definitely has more usage in terms of these mobile wallets. So we expect 10x the traffic than Android, and our
goodness.
servers are ready for that.
Okay, good. Very good.
And just to note that the iOS version does support the Z to T address transactions. This is in line with the default ECC reference wallet and their features.
Okay. All right.
Okay, next slide, please. So the high-level roadmap for the next 3 to 6 months would be to maintain the apps in the Play Store, App Store, and hopefully F-Droid, so more of our non-Apple and Google users can use them. All while providing an easy on-ramp for new users entering the Zcash ecosystem and to help spread Zcash adoption. And we know that we are working with native mobile wallets and on the Google and Apple phones, so privacy is always an issue, but we'll do our best to make sure that we ourselves don't leak user information, even though the platform itself might be vulnerable. So that's something is an ongoing issue. So for the funding front, we have the donations link in the app and the SideShift affiliate revenue sharing, which has been working good enough for now to power our servers. And apart from that, I do have an announcement for a side project that's brewing for a while. It is to bring a metal artwork in the form of a Cassasius coin-like in a first to Zcash. So it's going to be something that's coming soon. I will be posting updates on the Crypto Cabochon Twitter and Zway handle. So stay tuned for more information on that.
All right. And for those that don't know, that project is I believe I saw a tweet about that where it's some, could you just give us a little more detail on that? Is it an art project of some sort?
Yeah, so
okay, right.
There are some other projects which have been created for BTC, Bitcoin specifically, to store the BTC in a locked cold storage framework. So that way, when you send your cryptocurrency to the wallet, it's locked inside it. So the idea is that as the price of the coin or the token goes up and down, the value of the art goes up and down. And the only way to get to the private key is to break the artwork. So you break it, and inside that will be a piece of paper with high quality ink that's supposed to last for 300 years to store your private key.
Okay, that is
oh my
very
goodness,
nice.
this is so cool.
I was going to say that is an incredibly cool concept. Definitely. Okay, we have to follow that to keep up with updates on it.
Absolutely. And I have the art commissioned from an artist in India. He's my grandfather, so I'm very proud to present his art.
Even better.
Oh my God, this is so great.
I know, it gets better. Very nice. Very nice, Aditya. Appreciate that.
All right, that's all for me. I'll be open for any comments or discussions.
Okay, yeah, one thing we'll do at the end is definitely, I mean, you know, Nighthawk's obviously very familiar to, I'm sure, most everyone on the call, and in terms of ways to get in touch with you. What is the best way for someone to get in touch with you? Through Twitter, Twitter account, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, we have the Twitter accounts DMs open. We also have the Z2Z link in our
Okay.
Twitter for folks to connect via the Zcash memos.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the biggest ask you would have of the community at the moment would be use the apps, either Android or iOS in particular, since you're just at the point of kind of launching that, and provide feedback. And then of course, any support anyone can provide via donations or the SideShift affiliate, I'm sure would help the project. And then obviously when the art project comes out, there'll be a line, I think, of folks wanting to get involved with that. That's really neat. So any other ways folks can get involved that you can think of you'd like to mention?
Well, our projects are open source on GitHub, so any discussions there,
Okay.
we had a couple discussions from the community members there, but PRs will be more than welcome. You know, there are very few of us working on this right now. It's mostly the ECC devs, Kevin and Paco and myself, and a couple more contributors for the iOS and Android. So
Okay.
it'll be good to get the ball rolling. So we have
Mm-hmm.
more users and more dev users and more devs who are interested to support and commit to this native app.
Right. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay, Kevin, you're up. Light Client Wallet Working Group.
Sure, thanks. So a couple of weeks ago, we kicked off this, what we're calling a Light Client Working Group. And the inception of that was a conversation sparked, I think maybe even a D and Nighthawk might have drove some of that conversation, but a conversation was brewing on Twitter around fees. And is there a way to maybe have a wallet adjust the fees, maybe lower fees when you're sending just memos, or maybe make the fees proportional to your balance? And there's actually a lot of sticking points in trying to do something like that, particularly from a perspective of privacy. And so this long Twitter thread was happening, and it boiled down to this tweet from Nathan, where at the highlighted at the bottom, he asked, should we have a group that kind of talks about these things? There's a bunch of us that are building things in the wild, like we're in the trenches, I like to say, putting out apps and SDKs and clients. And these clients are using this light wallet or this light client protocol that works with compact blocks. And so as we move that forward, there's a lot of concerns that we'd like to address. And the idea behind this was, can we create a way to just open up connections between people and form these relationships so we can solve problems together? We all kind of have a common interest and a lot of opinions about how to move things forward. So we could go to the next slide. So I won't read directly from the slide, but in talking about the working group, I got a lot of help from Elena in growth, because I'm, just a developer, and she's really great with community, and she just kind of listened to what I had to say. Like, there's this itch that I like to scratch, because this Twitter thread that was happening, I didn't even know it was happening, and I'm in this stuff all day. Like, it's I'm in it too much, honestly, and so. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to just kind of like keep tabs on open threads of conversation, so you don't feel like you're missing out, or if some cool development is happening over here, like you're able to be aware of it and weigh in. And she said, you know what, given everything that you're saying, this might be a good fit for a newsletter, and we could create a listserv to kind of build a community. And she pointed me to something from Bitcoin called the Bitcoin Optech newsletter, which I didn't know existed, but seemed perfect. So they have this newsletter that goes out, and it just says things like, hey, here's the significant commits and changes that have happened since the last newsletter. Here's some of the conversations, and it just links out to places where communications are or conversations are happening. And so the idea was to send newsletters out. We have 2 of them out so far. We're sending them every 2 weeks. The first one went out in the middle of September, and we just cover a variety of topics. And so, and I can use help from the community, just submitting things that we like to talk about if you're interested in being a part of this group and contributing. The goal is to create a productive and valuable conversation for everyone. And it's really just aggregating things. So right now, the Light Client Working Group exists in the forum, and I just send out a newsletter to anyone who's expressed interest. And we're trying to tackle problems that we're all kind of facing. One of the most noteworthy ones Kris is going to talk about, he just finished Zip for URIs. So we have a partner in the community that's trying to create QR codes that you can scan and create transactions to multiple recipients. And this Zip is now merged and spells out exactly how to do that. And so collaborating to implement that in ZBay and Nighthawk and the ECC SDKs, and just doing that kind of together is something that should be, maybe planned for. We've also have conversations around how to make the memos more private, or network privacy in general. Is Tor going to work on iOS? Like, those kinds of topics are just great to talk about with people who are, living and breathing these products every day. So, and the main ask that I have is, if you'd like to join, just reach out to me. I try to check the Discords pretty regularly. You can ping me there, or an email. And anyone that's interested, I can add them to the newsletter. And the goal is to not so much bike shed on nuances, but to really have like tangible things that we produce. So hopefully we can settle on a lowered fee, and Holmes has volunteered to start a Zip, and we can coordinate on that Zip and maybe even get that in place in time for the network upgrade. So that's the pitch. And if anyone has questions, feel free to ping me anytime.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. So your big ask is just, if folks want to get involved, just contact you directly, basically, to get on the newsletter, mailing list, et cetera, those kind of things.
Right. And then in that newsletter, there's lots of links out to topics, and I try to break it down in a way that's easy to skim and scan. So you can say, I don't care about these 5 things, but this one thing I'm passionate about, I'm going to add my opinion there.
Okay.
So just not only reach out, but also just be engaged with the topics that matter most to you.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, the ask is, I think, really similar. Feedback, like any and all feedback, comments, and just get involved. So any way you'd like. All right, thanks for that. And okay, Kris, you're up next, which kind of dovetails in on Zip 321.
Yep. Hello, everyone. So as Kevin mentioned, we have a new draft standard for how to provide payment requests to users. And so as some of you may know, in Bitcoin, there are a couple of different standards. There's BIP 21 and BIP 70, which both specify mechanisms for requesting payment. So these are URI. Well, BIP 21 is a URI format that merchants can use to produce a QR code, and those QR codes are scannable by Bitcoin wallets. And when those QR codes are scanned, then the wallet can construct a transaction to provide that payment that the user can then verify. And we wanted something similar for Zcash, and we wanted to include a couple of things. One notable piece is that the standard that we've proposed here permits for multiple payments to be specified. So, so a single transaction that has multiple recipients receiving potentially different amounts of funding and potentially different memos. So for a few different use cases where you could imagine funding developers of a project, or any situation where you need to have more than one recipient, this Zip will support it. So Stephen, if you could click through to the Zip.
There we go. We have it.
All right. So so if you scroll down, we have so the specification. This is oops, keep going down a little bit.
Okay.
So we have a grammar for these URIs that specifies pretty precisely how they need to be constructed. And one of the things we strove to do here was to support some existing wallet integrations. So there are some existing wallet integrations that follow essentially the BIP21 standard, and we wanted to make those integrations continue to work in any cases where merchant URLs under those standards are already functioning with a couple of caveats, but then make it easy to also handle this multiple payment request. So just a couple of things that I'll point out. There are a few different pieces. So for each payment, you can specify obviously the payment address, and that's required. The other pieces of the payment are optional, including the amount. The amount can be zero, in which case you would only have to construct a transaction with appropriate fees. Labels are there so that human readable labels for the individual addresses are attached to those addresses. You can specify a message for each individual payment that's human readable to be displayed by the wallet. And then you can specify a base 64 or base 64 encoded value for the memo field for the memo to be sent in the case that it's a shielded address. So if you scroll down a little bit further, we have examples of both valid and invalid payment requests. And we hope that this will be a start in the ecosystem for making it easier for merchants to accept Zcash. So, and the first step in that journey is getting support for this standard from the wallets. So we can go back to the slides now.
All right, bear with me 1 second. Shift around here. Okay, back to the slides. Okay.
So the one other thing that I will mention that has not been added to this yet because we're still considering and looking for potentially feedback from the community. ZIP 302 is a standard for the format and contents of the encrypted memo field. And this zip is not yet finalized, but you can expect to see that coming through in the coming weeks. And that will include things like standards for how to specify payment refund addresses inside the encrypted memo field. So that's something that you can expect to see separately as part of ZIP 302, and then ZIP 321 will suggest that encrypted memo field values that are used follow the ZIP 302 standard. So there's also a reference implementation available in Rust in Libra Zcash, and you can see the pull request for it there. And so as far as community requests, if there's anything that you have wanted from payment requests that is not yet reflected in this zip, comment would be greatly appreciated. And then from all of the wallet providers out there, if we can come together to standardize on this URI format, then I think we can add a lot of value to the community.
All right, very good. Yeah, I know, and in fact, I think as Kevin mentioned, I believe what kind of got the ball rolling on this again, it had been a zip that was out there for quite a while that we intended to do, was someone in a gardening club call, several back mentioned it would be really great to go ahead and do some work on that. So appreciate that input. And I know a number of people are interested in this. So, all right, really good work on that. Yeah, so reach out anyway. Yeah, provide feedback through GitHub directly to Kris or, in the zip as well, comments, for the zip, etc., or any feedback on the examples that happen to be in there. All right, we will go to documentation.
Thanks, Stephen. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda from ECC. I am the person who manages all the documentation as of 3 or 4 months ago. And just for some context, I've been making a lot of huge updates. And even before that, we've been working on making sure that all of our documentation is up to date, that all of the instructions on it have been tested. And we've been making some quality of life improvements. And I wanted to give you an update on how that's going. So something that some people have pointed out in the community is that there were these aggressive ads on Read the Docs, and we finally removed them. So that's a pretty big improvement, and I think it makes our documentation look a lot better. There have been a couple big, very frequently visited pieces of documentation that have undergone a large makeover. So the Zcash mining guide, I think, is either the first or second most visited page, and it had recommended CPU or GPU mining up until just a month ago. So we finally shifted to giving advice on how to purchase an ASIC, how to do the calculations for profitability, choosing a mining pool, and getting paid out properly. Many thanks to Luxor, who worked with us to publish that information. They have a great business relationship with us and also support, shielded Coinbase and all that kind of stuff. So they're good people and it's genuine good advice. We also have replaced the user guide with a much more user-friendly Zcash guide, and it's a lot more organized and a lot more easy to navigate. So I hope that if you guys have a look at that page, that it'll be helpful for you. It's more of an introductory on-ramping thing, so I don't think anyone here would need to read that, but it's just an update. Something else you may be interested is that we recently added the canopy zips to the network upgrade guide. So if you want the consensus ID branch to add to your code when the time is necessary, or to see what kind of changes are being made, you can have a look there. I know that if you follow along on the zips page, you might have known for a while, but it's still nice to have that in documentation. Lastly, we ran a documentation swag bounty program, and I interacted with a lot of the community. I don't know if everyone that had interacted with me is here. It's maybe a different subset, but I'm really excited about really having an interactive relationship with the community and to make sure that the documentation is useful stuff. I am particularly interested to talk at Gardening Club because I think that you guys are my audience for documentation. So if you have any feedback for me, I would love to hear it. But in addition to that, I feel like you guys have been flying courageously in the dark, maybe perhaps without some documentation, and you have a lot to contribute, and maybe you could help other developers bootstrap in building applications like yourself. So another ask from me to you is that if you have any tips, advice, best practices to give other developers, please reach out to me because I would really love to make some documentation like that. Stephen, could you go to the next slide? Another announcement is that I am expanding my reach from just overhauling Read the Docs and trying to move into video content, so more video content for documentation on setup and things like that, and how to use Zcash and our other resources. But in addition to that, we would like to have some educational, helpful content. So these are some of the things that I'm working on this quarter. If you'd like to see anything specific, or if you'd like to contribute to some video content, maybe even explaining how you handle a Zcash specific feature and cover that in some sort of format, I would love to interview you. It can be super informal. I'm looking for screen share, you talking out loud and editing to upload to YouTube in a casual short format, high volume kind of way. So I think that if you want to do something like that, or if you're open to it, please ping me. I might just look at the event list and reach out aggressively anyway. But I think that we can work together to provide some great benefits for the community, and your project could get a little airtime. So that's it for me, Stephen. I think I'd like to take just a minute or so to share a couple things on the screen then.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just wanted to verify that was the last one. Okay, so let me exit full screen here. And then I will stop presenting and you can take it away.
Great. Yep. Hi, everyone. It's Linda. And something that I really wanted to highlight is that I added a leave feedback button. And if you scroll down, I think that You can also submit PRs on GitLab. So I've tried to make that easier to find. So if you have any feedback for me for documentation, just leave any suggestions here. And I also would like to highlight some of the new pages that I've made. So here is the new and improved Zcash mining guide with all of these sections like calculating rewards, purchasing an ASIC, hosting, and setup. So this is very detailed and I'm very proud of this page. The other page that I've wanted to introduce to you, this is the replacement for the user guide. Something that we're very proud of is that now we have installation instructions for Docker and have separated out instructions per operating system. And we have all of these references at the bottom instead of having them all on the left-hand side. We grouped them right here for you. So we're pretty happy about that. And lastly, the Canopy content can be seen here under the network upgrade guide. So if you have any questions on which SIPs pertain to the upcoming network upgrade, you can have a look here. That's it for me, Stephen. So I'll try to turn it back over to you if I can find how to stop sharing. That button at the bottom just disappeared.
Yeah, it should be in that little floating bar up toward the top of the screen.
There
you go. You got it.
I have 3 monitors, so
okay. Well, then
switched on me.
You have triple the confusion with Zoom. So,
exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. Yeah, so a couple points there. Great progress on the doc. We had a really good set of doc already when we started, but we started this project some time back and really just wanted to make sure that it was easy to navigate. So the organization has improved, more succinct. Linda and a number of the team have done run-throughs of all the instructions because sometimes the instructions, especially when you refer to like, oh, go do something on GitHub, GitHub changes their UI, so the instructions may or may not make as much sense as they used to. So yeah, we've been doing run-throughs to make sure the instructions are still accurate, et cetera. But if anyone has any suggestions for doc they would like to see, little videos they would like to do to include in the doc, just get in touch with Linda for that. And then also, I'd encourage you, if there are instructions that you see and you just want to test drive it and give us your feedback, we'd really appreciate that as well. Okay, well, that is the kind of the end of the scheduled talks. We have, kind of an open discussion period, although we do cover quite a bit as we go through.